Hey, this is Darien Lux, and you're listening to the very first episode of the Not So Epic Rant podcast. Thanks for listening, and some background information about myself. I'm 22 years old, and I'm from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. If you don't know where that's at, it's in the southwestern part of Pennsylvania, about an hour and a half away from Pittsburgh, about 65 to 70 miles away from Pittsburgh. And if you can hear, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it's raining outside, and it's January. Today is January 17th, and it's raining in western Pennsylvania. Right? Doesn't that sound a little weird? What the hell is that? 40 degrees and pouring down rain instead of, 25 and snow. And we haven't had snow in at least a week, if not longer. Yeah, definitely a week or longer of no snow here in western Pennsylvania in the wintertime. It's January 17th, and we've had 3-4 days of snow maybe. And they weren't even like all the same day or all the same week. We had snow in the week before Thanksgiving, and then we had a little bit of snow in December, and then the rest of December there wasn't shit. January started out with some snow, and then an ice storm. Literally, my car had a layer of ice over the whole car. I had to chisel out my windshield and my gas pump because I had to go get gas, and just the layer of ice was on my car. But now it's 40 degrees and raining on January 11th. 17th. What the hell? What the hell is that? Does that mean, we're never going to have winter in Pennsylvania again? Like a normal, steady, starting at the end of December and finishing up in February, just snowstorms? Is that done? Where do I need to go to have snow in the winter? Because, I snowboard. We have a mountain here, or a ski resort here called Seven Springs. And if I were to go to there right now, I'd pay about $60 to ride, 60% of a mountain because the rest of it doesn't have any snow on it. And now after it rains, all that snow that's there is going to be gone too. And then if I go on a weekend, they charge upwards of $80 to snowboard on 60% of a mountain, 40 degrees and rain. Yeah, bullshit. Total bullshit. So where do I gotta go? Where are there mountains? Granted, it's not the biggest mountain or the best mountain, so maybe, out west, Northern California, Colorado, maybe that's where you gotta go, but shit. Do they even have snow out there? I don't know. I don't live out there. There's no snow here, and it pisses me off. Because, there's not much to do in the wintertime. And the weather's it's even if it was nice out, it's not nice out. It's 40 degrees and rain. What are you going to do? Nothing. Nothing you can do. So, normally in the snow, when there's snow, I like to go snowboarding. It's something I enjoy to do. It's fun. It's almost relaxing in a way, especially whenever, you're going down the mountain and you got your headphones in and you're by yourself and you don't have to worry about anything other than don't eat shit. It's the only thing you got to worry about. Don't wipe out. Don't take out a herd of kids. Don't break your neck. You'll be fine. I think it's fun to do. But, can't really do it right now because that's a lot of money to spend for 60% of a mountain. Why don't I pay 60% of the lift ticket? No, that doesn't work. That's the way it goes, I guess. But where was I? Some backstory about me, I guess. So not so epic rant. As you could tell, I'm gonna rant about things like I just did, and I'm not gonna say everything I say is gonna be an epic rant. So that's where I came up with the name Not So Epic Rant. Who knows? Maybe I'll change it someday. Really, I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I've tried here and there before. And the only way I'm going to make this happen is if I just sit down and do it. It's not going to just happen if I don't do it. So I'm kind of just forcing myself to do it. I don't know how long I'm going to do them. I don't know when I'm going to do them. I just know the only way it's going to happen is if I sit down and do it and force myself, because I'm the kind of person that, has always had a little bit of trouble with motivation and motivating myself to do things. I'm a musician, and I like to work out, and I like to write music, and, I've just, there's something, especially in schooling, I went to IUP, that stands for Indiana University of Pennsylvania, and no, it's not a branch of Indiana University. It's there's Indiana, Pennsylvania is a town not far from here, about 45 minutes. I think the school has about 15,000 students, so it's actually a decent sized school. It's in the Pennsylvania state school system, and I did good in college. I did better in college than I did in high school. That's for damn sure. But just trying to motivate myself to do a project not the night before it's due, or to go to the library, or to study for a test. And that's understandable. Those are all extremely tedious things, and unless you're into that, there are people that like to learn and like to do schoolwork. And I'm just not one of those type of people. But I wish that's where my lack of motivation ended. But I've had that come through to other parts of my life, even in aspects of my life that I enjoy. Like, here's a good example. Like, whenever I get motivated to do something, almost nothing can stop me. Like, I'll be writing music. I'll be sitting on my computer recording guitar and programming drums and all that, and be on the verge of pissing myself, but I don't stop for another 2 or 3 hours because I'm on a roll. But then the next night I'll come home from whatever I was doing, thinking about recording all day, and I'll get home and I'm gonna go record, and I sit down on my computer, and before I open up my software, I open up YouTube, and then I watch a video, and then I'm like, all right, after this video I'll record. No, then I watch another video, and the next thing I know, it's 10:30 at night, and I didn't record anything. And that's why I have songs on my computer from over a year ago. It's still not finished because I didn't have the motivation to sit down and finish it. So maybe this is doing a podcast. It could be my way of breaking myself of the habit. Who knows? Definitely something I need to work on personally is motivating myself to do things that I don't want to do. Cleaning my room. There's a great example. It's not the worst room in the world, but just looking around it right now, it could use a good clean over. But here's the thing. I'll spend an hour cleaning my room spotless, and within 2 days, it looks, it just goes right back to the way it was, because I get a load of clean clothes and I don't feel like putting them away, and then I don't have an empty basket for my dirty clothes, so I just throw those on the floor, and then within all that work I did is just gone within 2 or 3 days. So, and then I don't why the hell would I want to clean it up again? Because I know how I am, and I know that I'm just gonna ruin it all over again, and then I know I'm not, I don't want to clean it, because who the hell wants to clean their room? That's not fun, So I gotta find a way to get myself to do the things that I don't want to do, and even like I said, even things I want to do, I have trouble. There's nights where I think about going home and playing PlayStation, and putting in the game I'm playing. And I don't even have the motivation to do that. I put it in, and I'm like, I don't even want to do this right now. I don't know what just want to watch YouTube videos or watch a movie or something. I've been thinking about starting a new podcast for I can't even tell you how long, and I finally got to the point where I got to force myself to do it, because it's something I think I would enjoy doing, and I could see myself doing for a long time if I were ever to gain some type of audience or following. I think that I have the skills to, make an interesting podcast, whether or not I can do that now or it's something, it's obviously I'm going to grow as a podcaster or as a speaker. But I think I could definitely see myself doing this for a long period of time. Not going to say I'm going to make a career out of it, but hey, who knows what can happen? I'm definitely not going to get anywhere by not doing this. So I'm just forcing myself now to sit down and record something, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, something. I don't even know where I'm going to upload this yet, whether it's going to be on YouTube or I'll try and get it on iTunes. We'll see if that happens. I barely even have a logo finished yet. I started on one because I'm actually building a new website. I made a portfolio website back in college for a photography class, and then we had a senior portfolio class where we just kind of compiled all of our best work and I just made a website of it. So I have that. It's like my name at wix.com, DarienLux.wix.com, something like that. I don't even know. But now I want to make something a little more professional. So I've been working on a multimedia website for my photography and videography, and maybe do a little graphic design. And I'll probably put this on there as well, because that's something I also, my dream job or dream career, I should say, is just to, eventually work for myself, to be my own boss, to make my own schedule. And another thing, I want to have a career where I can make money in my sleep, like through the internet. You really have that opportunity, whether it's a clothing company or whether it's, from people watching your videos or listening to your podcast. I want to be able to make money while I sleep, some kind of revenue that is outside of me grinding, the 40 hours a week or whatever, whatever monotonous bullshit that everyone else does to make their career. So that's really, I got to find my zone out there in the world that's, where I can enjoy my life and make a comfortable living at the same time. Because really, working for someone else, doing things that you don't want to do, waking up early whenever you don't want to wake up early, or staying up, working late when you don't want to work late. Those are things that, I want to be able to control what time I start work, what time I stop work, how long I work for, who I work with. I think those are things that are very important for my happiness as an individual. And I'm going to, hopefully I'll find my lane. I've been a musician since I was 7 years old. I started playing the guitar, and like I said, I try to write music. The few problems with that is, the music industry it's in an interesting spot where there's almost too much, there's almost too much out there. So how can I get noticed whenever there's bands that have been around for 10 years still aren't making money? They just make enough to go on tour, and they just break even. And here I am, just a kid in my room with a guitar and a laptop. And how can I compete with people like that? And there's bands that, are on their first album right now. They're that much ahead of me. I haven't even finished writing my album yet. Another thing is I can't sing or write lyrics to save my ass, so everything I write is instrumental. And to make things, even harder on myself, the kind of music I'm into and the kind of music I write isn't the most popular music on the planet. So pretty much what my influences range from my favorite band of all time is without a doubt Tool, and then some of my other huge inspirations would be Mastodon, Metallica, Misfits. But when I write, it kind of ends up always being some form of, progressive metal meets metalcore. Somewhere in that, I don't even, there's not a single band I could say that it sounds like, because I take my influences, everything I listen to, and I kind of put it in a blender, and then whatever I write just comes out. And if I want to put a part like a thrash, a Machine Head, I have a song with a couple parts that really sound, like they would fit on a Machine Head record. But within that same song, I have, it could something that could be on Amon Amarth, something that could be on Trivium, and those aren't even bands that I really listen to that often. But just trying to think of something that it would sound like, something that would be on Behemoth, and I think that is something that is almost important, as almost necessary as an aspiring musician or aspiring artist, or to set yourself apart from the pack. Because if I write an album that sounds exactly like Avenged Sevenfold, maybe that'll get huge, because that happens every once in a while. But chances of me having a long, successful career after that one album, after that wears off, pretty slim to none. And I also that's how do I want to put it? That's almost like, I don't know, that's almost like sacrilege to me, writing an album that sounds exactly like another band or another album. Or, I mean, there's definitely parts you'll listen to something on my song and be like, oh, that sounds like Mastodon, but then right after that, you're gonna get a breakdown or something, like, oh, that sounds like Hatebreed. But having a part that sounds like Mastodon and a part that sounds like Hatebreed in the same song, not a lot of bands have, that I know of, do things like that. Not saying that what I write is the most innovative and, unheard of material you ever hear in your life, but it's just the way I write. And I know that if I'm going to get anywhere, or I'm going to get anyone to listen to my music, especially in the metal world or the progressive world, it's got to sound different. It has to have its own identity. And I think I actually have done things that you'll listen to and, wow, I've never heard anything like that before. Or I've heard a part like that, and I've heard a part like that, but the way you put the two together is pretty interesting. I definitely think I've been able to write a couple interesting things, and who knows, maybe no one will ever hear it, and it's just something I think it's fun, and I just like to sit down and play and record and program drums and record bass, and try and make it sound as good as possible. Or maybe, someday someone will listen to it and like it, whether it's 5 people, 10 people. If I ever just, a person, a complete stranger, I could put it on the internet and they can find a song of mine and reach out to me and say, hey, you wrote this song and I listened to it and I think it's an awesome song. That alone would make me feel good. Just knowing that I created something, threw it up on the internet, and someone on the other side of the planet heard it and they were, they liked what I did. That would mean the world to me. So who knows what's going to happen with that. I'm going to try and keep working on it. Hopefully, I have about, 5 songs almost done. Definitely in 2017, I want to have it finished, and I'll probably get CDs made. I don't know. I'll definitely have it put online somewhere, YouTube or Bandcamp or SoundCloud. I'll definitely have it out there. But who knows how soon I'm going to get that done. But it's definitely fun definitely enjoyable. Um, and I learn things all the time, new things about how to EQ and how to do this and how to do that, how to make that sound better. And um, it's definitely a challenge, to start with a blank slate, not a single note, not a single drum, nothing written. And I really don't write music. I just sit down and I just start recording. I don't know if that's the best way to do it because, I have a voice memos on my iPhone, 3, 4, or 5 years of riffs, and I've never used a single one of them. I'll be jamming and, oh, that sounds good, I better record that. Put it on my phone. I've never used a single one. What are they doing there for? Maybe someday I'll go through and get the good ones and delete the bad ones, but I'm sure that would be like 99% of them are shit. But, so what I do is I just sit down and start playing, and then if I like it, I record it, and then I put drums on that, and then I try and figure out how I can get that part to go into the next part, or, maybe this doesn't work, and I have a riff started, for another song, because sometimes I'll start a song and I don't finish it, so then I put the two together, which I've done that before, but, it's a challenge to, start with this complete, start with nothing. Completely nothing, and to build it, to get it into a 4, 5, 6, 7 minute song, it's pretty interesting. And sometimes, one of the best songs I have written, I wrote almost instantly. And another song that I really like, I wrote the main riff for it over a year ago. I don't remember, on Christmas break, I believe. Might even been before. I wrote the riff before Christmas break. When I got home on Christmas break, I got about 4 minutes of the song done. And just this week, I think I finished the song. At least I finished the from the beginning to the end. There's little things like turning this lead up or turning that lead down or fixing the snare here. Little things like that still need tweaked, but the intro the whole way to the outro of the song is done, I believe. And that took over a year. Granted, I wasn't sitting there working on it every day for a year, which I probably spent about 10 days actually working on it, but that's a lot of time too, just to work on one song that good chance no one's ever going to hear it. But like I said, I don't really care, because it is a good way, a fun way to challenge yourself. But who knows? Well, hopefully, like I said, this year I'll get that done. Maybe someone will hear it, maybe someone won't. But, well, what else did I want to talk about? So I'm a huge sports fan. My teams, my NFL team, which that's my favorite sport, Pittsburgh Steelers, obviously, being from the Pittsburgh area, close enough. And they are about to play the AFC Championship game in Foxborough, New England, Foxborough, Massachusetts, against the New England Patriots. And it should be an interesting game. The Steelers played the Kansas City Chiefs and beat them 18-16. 6 field goals against the Chiefs, 2 touchdowns. Obviously, that's not gonna fly in New England. Granted, the defense played a hell of a game. If we can get the defense to play that way, that'll definitely make things easier. But getting it down into the red zone 4 or 5 times, one of them was an interception, but other than that, they were all field goals. And then I think there were 2 field goals over 40 yards. That's not good, especially when you got Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell. The middle of the field was wide open for the whole game. Jesse James had about 6 catches for over 50 yards. Not one of those passes could have ended up in the middle of the end zone, or I don't know. But I'm definitely excited that we are in the playoffs and we're about to play the AFC Championship game. And if we win, we go to the Super Bowl. And that'll be against either either the Packers or the Atlanta Falcons. Part of me wants to play the Packers again and get a win over them. Part of me wants to play the Falcons because have the Falcons ever been in a Super Bowl? I want to say they were in one, but they definitely haven't won a Super Bowl. And at the beginning of the year, if you would have said the Falcons would be in the Super Bowl, a lot of people would have said you're crazy. Yeah, they have this great offense, but they have a great offense every year. They have Matt Ryan who throws 4,000 yards every year, 40 touchdowns, whatever. They play the teams in their division, the Saints and Tampa Bay and who else? Some other shit team, the Titans or someone like that. And, all they got to do is beat those teams. So that's 6 games. So the Falcons every year could go to the playoffs 6-10 pretty much if they just beat the teams in their division, which are horrible. And that gives them a chance, like I said, to get into the playoffs. So I really didn't think Atlanta had what it, we're going to make it to the playoffs. But here we are, and they're about to play a home game, a home championship game against the Packers. So who knows what's going to happen in that game? Aaron Rodgers versus Matt Ryan. The Packers defense didn't look great. The Falcons don't have a great defense, but they were able to stop. They were able to stop Seattle. Seattle doesn't exactly have a high-powered offense, but they were able to stop them. So, and I think what was the score? 36-20. That's definitely a margin of 16 points, 2 scores, and a 2-point conversion. So, should definitely be interesting. As long as Pittsburgh wins, I don't care who we're playing in the Super Bowl. I really think if Ben gets another Super Bowl ring, his legacy as an elite quarterback, or even top 10, top 5 quarterback of all time, that really helps him out. It doesn't help that while he was playing, there's also Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. That kind of hurts to people to put you in the conversation of the best quarterbacks of all time whenever you're playing up against those guys. So, but I did see a thing since 2003. The only quarterbacks outside of 1 year to play, for an AFC team were Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger in the Super Bowl, with the one outsider being Joe Flacco, that asshole. When the Ravens got in the Super Bowl and played against the 49ers. But since 2003, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger, with the exception of 1 year, the only AFC quarterbacks to play in the Super Bowl. And that, that helps Ben right there. That he's immediately put into that conversation with those two whenever you look at that stat. And, those two, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, have played on teams with way better attributes and way better players than Ben has outside of the defense from the 2005 and the 2008 Super Bowls, or the Super Bowl 40 and Super Bowl 43, which those two defenses, arguably one of the greatest defenses of all time. I mean, you got James Harrison in his prime, Lamar Woodley in the Super Bowl 43, Troy Polamalu in his prime. In Super Bowl 40, Clark Higgins, Ike Taylor in his prime, Deshae Townsend. You had Aaron Smith. In Super Bowl 43, there's Brett Kiesel in his prime, Casey Hampton, Joey Porter, Larry Foote, James Ferrier, stacked, completely stacked defenses. Ryan Clark in his prime. So that really helps. You also had Jerome Bettis and then Willie Parker, Hines Ward, But then again, the Patriots put these players you never even heard of, and Bill Belichick somehow, masters up a play that turns freaking Wes Welker into a stud, whether it lasts for a whole career or not. That's besides the point. They still go 18-0 and then lose the Super Bowl, but I don't even know where I'm getting at this point. All I'm saying is I really hope Ben Roethlisberger wins the Super Bowl, and that's going to help his legacy out with the talks of being one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So that should be interesting. This Sunday, 6:40, I'll be watching that game, and hoping for the best. Last thing I want to talk about, I'm a UFC fan. And since the sale of the UFC, the interim title has become kind of this, I don't know what you want to call it, but so before, the way I understood it, and if you go back and look at the history of the championships and the belts in the UFC, typically the only time an interim was brought out was whenever someone was inactive for a long period of time, whether it be to injury, or most likely it was due to injury, or I want to say with GSP or Randy Couture, one of those two, there was a contract dispute. But definitely, I mean, Dominic Cruz, injury. Cain Velasquez, injury. You know, both of those, there was an interim belt. Also, suspension, I forgot. John Jones, he gets suspended, interim belt. What's his name? Jose Aldo, injury, you know, he's injured, so there's an interim belt. Conor McGregor wins the interim belt. Conor McGregor fights Jose Aldo, beats him with one punch, wins the championship belt. Then moves to 155, but all within a year. Within a year, not even 365 days, 350 days to be exact. Is the amount of time he held the featherweight belt. That belt gets taken away from him. He didn't lose it. Gets taken away from him. Gets handed to Jose Aldo, who beat Frankie Edgar for an interim belt. The interim belt gets pretty much handed to Max Holloway, who fought Anthony Pettis, who is the former 155-pound champion, who had one fight in 145 prior to an interim championship bout. We know he missed weight and he wasn't able to win the belt, but he still lost the fight. There was an interim fight for a belt between the number one contender and a guy who was in his second fight in that division. What the hell? How does this make sense? This isn't like, I'm not like, how do I put this? I'm not bothered by this because they took a belt from Conor McGregor. That's beside the point. Just the fact that he had the belt for 350 days. There were fighters, I want to say Dominic Cruz was out for 3 years while holding the belt. Daniel Cormier won the belt, the 205 belt. How long ago? He's yet to defend it. He had a fight with Johnson scheduled. That didn't go through, so he fought Silva. And that wasn't for a belt. So then he had a fight with Jones for UFC 200. Jones gets pulled. Then he fights Silva, not for the belt. Then he had a fight with Johnson scheduled. Cormier gets hurt, and Johnson beats up Glover Teixeira, not for a belt, not for an interim. So Cormier's had the 205 belt for way over a year. Maybe he did. He defended it against Gustafsson. But still, he's had that belt over a year without fighting for that belt. Conor McGregor had the 45-pound belt, the 145-pound belt, for 350 days while active fighting. He had 3 fights after winning that belt. The 2 Diaz fights and the 155-pound championship against Eddie Alvarez. So you can't say he was inactive. Obviously, he wasn't paying attention to the featherweight, but if things would have went as planned, if he would have fought RDA instead of Nate Diaz and would have beaten RDA, you know, who's to say he wouldn't have went back down to 145 and fought again? You know, but maybe he would have fought Frankie Edgar, and he would still be holding both belts. And now So Conor McGregor beats Eddie Alvarez in, what was that, November? It's now January, so 2 months ago. And in March, Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson are fighting for an interim belt. An interim. 4 months after a new champion gets the belt. 4 months after Conor McGregor wins the belt, they're already fighting for an interim. What the hell? What the hell is this? How does that work? I don't understand it. I don't know is it just to sell pay-per-views? I understand that championship fights will bring more views, but do interim championship fights? Has anyone done the research on that? Like, just saying it's for an interim belt, does that mean anything to people? Because when a fighter wins an interim belt, they almost immediately say, this isn't the real belt. John Jones said it. Conor McGregor said it. This isn't the real belt. I want the real belt. So why do the fans care? Oh, we got to buy this. Oh, look, it's an interim fight against Nurmagomedov and Ferguson. Oh my God, it's an interim fight. Does anyone give a shit? Because I don't. Or do I? Because I'm talking about it. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. You know, when Verdum got the interim belt because Velasquez was hurt, it was because Velasquez was hurt. He got the belt in 2015. Velasquez, I don't think he fought since 2013. Definitely a long period of time in between. I don't know if that's the exact amount of time, but you get what I'm saying, you know. Who knows? Who knows what the new company is doing, WME or whatever the hell they're called. Maybe they know what they're doing. Maybe not. It's definitely interesting, you know, especially the whole interim belt for 155. Fighters have had kids before. I'm pretty sure, I would imagine there's been a champion fighter that's had a kid before. And they didn't throw up an interim belt because he said he's taking some time off. And he never said how long he's taken off. That's what Dana said, not him, not Conor McGregor. So who knows when he'll be back? Probably, I would imagine sooner rather than later. Or maybe they know something that we don't, and the Conor McGregor-Floyd thing is really going to happen, which I don't give a shit if it happens or it doesn't. I'm just tired of hearing about it, you know. Until it actually happens, then talk about it all you want. But all this, you know, Dana throws out a number, then Floyd says that's not enough, calls him a comedian. Floyd wants $100 million. He'll give Conor 15. Conor wants $100 million. I mean, until we actually get a date for when this fight's going to happen, is it necessary to keep talking? I mean, Skip Bayless and whatever that asshole, Shannon Sharp, what the hell do they know about fighting? And they're talking about it. So, something, you know, I just hope that it either someone says it's happening or someone says it's not. And I hope it's true. And I hope that just, you know, everyone's like, it just satisfies all the people that just keep talking about it, because it's getting annoying. And yeah, it's exciting. It would be exciting to watch the two, but there's people. I'd rather see Conor McGregor versus Tyron Woodley. I'd rather see how that would go down. You know, I think that's a more interesting fight than Khabib versus Conor. Yeah, Khabib deserves it, but that's another guy that took a long time off for injuries. 2 years, I think, Khabib went without fighting. So who knows? I'd rather see Conor and Ferguson versus Conor and Floyd, because I don't want to see Conor walk in there and do boxing rolls, even if he beats him with boxing rolls. I don't want to see that. I want to see Conor McGregor, an MMA fighter, fight in an MMA fight. And I don't want to see Floyd try and fight MMA, because it's not going to happen. Maybe if they give Floyd boxing gloves and Conor MMA gloves, but I think that's an advantage for Conor. And I don't think Floyd's going to do anything to jeopardize this. That's why he wants $100 million. So, who knows? But I think that should wrap it up. I think I did 45 minutes, or that's not bad for my first time. So, I don't know where you're going to be listening to this, when you're going to be listening to this, if you're going to be listening to it, but I just hope that someone listens to it and someone enjoys it. And stay tuned, and hopefully I'll get a new one up in the near future. Probably, I don't want to say once a week, because I know I'm not going to do it once a week. Because I'll probably do 3 in 1 week, and then I'll go 3 weeks without doing 1, and then I'll do 1, and then, yeah, you get the picture. So, hopefully sooner rather than later. There's actually a good chance I'll do it after the AFC Championship game. Just kind of recap that. So, thanks for listening, and this is the Not So Epic Rant podcast.